Ooh, that looks tasty. Welcome, folks. Today the Hungry Gamer is back with another mini review, and today we're talking about Frostpunk from Glass Cannon Unplugged. Now, this is a game that is based on a video game, which I've never played, and it was really hot. Pun intended? Yeah, I'm gonna go with it. And it was really hot when it hit Kickstarter a bit over 2 years ago, and it delivered, I don't know, 6, 8 months ago, maybe a year ago, something like that. And they were kind enough to send me a copy, and it's been sitting on my shelf, and I hadn't played it for a long time. And I'll talk about the reason why I hadn't played it for a long time later on in the video, but needless to say, I was afraid of it. That's why. I'll go into the details of that later on. And Mark Dainty from Not Board Gaming, he was out visiting, and he said, "You're interested in playing?" I was like, "Yeah." I said, "I'm scared of it." He said, "We're going to do it." And we played and had a really good time. And then I played it a few more times after he left. And so here we are. So what Frostpunk is it takes place, it's a crisis management game, worker placement crisis management game that takes place in an alternate universe in the past where the world is frozen. Think like Snowpiercer level frozen. And there are these huge generators, coal-powered generators that are built around the landscape where people build their settlements around it, and as long as they keep it hot enough, people don't die. And basically what's happening in each game, well, a lot of stuff is happening in each game. You have a scenario that's a specific win condition, and you can lose every way. There's so many ways to lose. Always, anytime, you're probably going to lose. But there's all these ways to lose. And what you're doing is you're managing your resources of coal and wood and steam cores and sometimes steel. And you're managing your people because you have to give them places to sleep so they don't wind up getting sick and or being too cold. Because they're too cold, they get sick. If they get sick long enough, they die, and so on. And if you get too many corpses, you lose. And along with that, you're managing your food because, of course, if you don't feed people, they get hungry. If too many people get hungry, they wind up dying. If they wind up dying, again, you get corpses. Get too many corpses, you lose. Then you're also managing your hope. And there's various flavors of hope, and you're managing your despair. It's not called despair. That's the word that's coming to me right now. But the negative emotions, if you get too many of those, guess what happens? You lose. And so you're kind of working through this game, and there's a big storm that's always moving around, coming, and bad things happen when the storm hits, buildings get destroyed, and pretty much every choice that you make, every day, every morning, some kind of card is going to flip out. Usually, it has something bad that's going to happen to you. Or you can make a choice to mitigate it now, but you're going to slide a card into another deck that gets pulled at the end of every round that's going to have something bad happen later on. So you can kind of take something bad now or kick the can down the road is kind of what you're dealing with. And at the same time, you have a bunch of laws that you're able to pass. Again, you put a worker there, you can pass a law. And there's various flavors of law that you can pass. For example, the most popular one that people like to talk about is you can either take your children, your little cute little meeples with their holding hands, and put them to work. Now they are workers you can use. Or you can let them be kids and just give them a place to stay. And depending on what you do, it's going to affect your hope and your despair. But on the other hand, you might get more despair, no hope, but you might wind up getting more workers, which you kind of need because you got to feed those kids anyway. So you might as well have them working. And so you have all these kinds of things going on. You have technologies that you're going to be getting if you can invent them, if you're trying to create them, which will help you out in various ways. But every round, one of the things you're going to have to do is you're going to have to take a bunch of coal, black cubes, and you're going to drop them in the top of this big old tower. When you drop them in the tower, some of them will fall out. The ones that fall out are damage accumulating on your generator. And you put them on a track. When you get them all the way up to the top of this track, it breaks down. It can break down once. It's okay if it breaks down once. It's not great, but it's okay if it breaks down once. If it breaks down again, it explodes, and you guessed it, you lose. And I've even left out the part where you have to heat the generator up, because if you are putting your workers out somewhere and it's cold there because you don't have enough heat in the generator, then you're going to get another sick worker. So you can do the thing, but they get sick. See the earlier mention that if you have too many sick workers, they start to die, and so on and so on. If you have too many deaths, then you lose. All that's wrapped up. So what I'm saying is, every scenario, you're going to have a very narrow win condition that you're trying to accomplish. and pretty much everything you do is going to be bad as you're trying to get there. No matter what you do, it's a bad choice over and over and over again. And each different scenario will have a little bit of a different story going on and different win conditions and some different features that'll be popping up in the game. So, what do I like about this game? I really appreciate the scale of crisis in this game. Crisis management, and everything is a crisis. I love that there is nothing you can do that's not bad in some way. And so you're trying to figure out what is the best bad to get me to the good. That's awesome. That is just awesome. Next thing I'll say is it really does look cool on the table. I mean, the tower is really cool. You can get the minis expansion. And in the pictures I'm showing, I'm not using the minis expansion because I do think it's a little bit easier to read the tiles, but the minis look really, really good. So it looks fantastic. I think it's exceedingly clever how all these parts interlock. The weather and the morning cards and the dust cards and the laws, which put stuff into the dust cards, and the way the sickness works, and the way you have to keep the generator hot enough so you can not get your people sick. But of course you have to take the time to build the shelters or they're gonna get sick. But of course, if you're building the shelter, you're not building the other thing that you might need, and the choices are just impossible every single turn, and I love that. That is amazing. It is amazingly crafted. I think for what is probably the heaviest crisis management game I've ever played, I think it is impeccably crafted. The way the rules connect and they work and they make sense, impeccable. Love it. And the next thing I'll say is this is a game that I think plays very well solo, and it also plays very well if you're playing multiplayer, at least assuming if you can truly have a collaborative thing going on. If you can truly be collaborative, it's a great multiplayer game. It is a fantastic solo game. Just really, really, really good. Next thing, and then the last thing I'll say is I think it thematically really works. And I think that's because you really understand that this world sucks. Like, it's real bad. And everything you do, I mean, it makes sense mechanically. Yes, you have to send someone out to get more coal so you can put it into the generator, but it's going to be hard to do it, and it's going to be painful, and something bad is constantly going to be happening. And I think it really, really works well with that. I think it really shines thematically as well as mechanically. So, what are my quibbles with this game? First thing is the reason that we have a mini review. It doesn't fit on my table in my game room. I could probably squeeze things enough and actually get it to fit, but it doesn't fit comfortably, and it's not something that I can shoot. And so because of that, it doesn't really fit on a human-sized table, especially if you're talking about a game that plays really well solo. And I think that has to be the first thing we talk about. The next thing is it is brutal, it is punishing. I have never won. Never. Not even close. The last game I played, I was doing really, really well, and I got 2/3 way through the game. I was like, well, that's going to be it. Nope, not going to happen. And so, like the theme of the world, which is crushing, the game can be crushing as well. That said, there are ways that you can make it easier, significant ways that are that work well and they aren't complicated, but it is a crushingly hard game. And the reason that I was so scared of it for so long is there are a ton of rules. And like I said, everything works. Everything makes sense. And once you understand it, it's not really that hard. You can just glance at the player aid and you whoop, go right down through it. But it is a huge lift to learn this game. And I took out the rules several times, and I was just I can't do this. And I was intimidated. And I'm really sad that it took me as long as it did to play the game. But that's something that you might run into. Also, it is a lot. It is an incredibly heavy lift to grasp this, get it to the table, and be able to just play. And the last thing I'm going to say is the insert is poorly done. And my understanding is that Glass Cannon knows that. They know they missed the mark on the insert, but the insert does not help you table the game. It just doesn't. But really that's all, folks. I think this is a top tier, and by that I mean top 10 somewhere in there, crisis management game. Absolutely. I think it is the best, heavy crisis management game. Now, to be fair, I can't name a ton of really heavy crisis management games, but I think if you're looking for the crunchiest of games, just so crunchy, very thematic, and you want that worker placement meets crisis management, then this is kind of where you want to be. Because if you are on board with the difficulty, the depression of the theme, and the rules overload, then you will be exceedingly happy with this game. If you are looking for a crisis management game, the weight of pandemic, and that's what you like, or even the loop, then this is probably not for you, because it's a long game. I haven't gotten through a game in one sitting. I will sit down, I'll play for an hour, 90 minutes, and then my brain is smoking and I leave it on the table, come back later. And that is a specific weight of game. And so if that's what you're looking for, this game is great. If you want your crisis management game to be quick, light, and easy, run far away. This is not it. So there you have it, folks. That is Frostpunk. As always, if you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, share, maybe become a channel member. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.